this money. So we're turning it more into, can we get professional money managers to actually manage the funds that we put in place? It probably will also be a matching fund because we need the investors to have skin in the game. So probably 50-50 or 60-40, we'd look at the structuring eventually. But these are some of the things that we're doing. And for us, Minigrids and climate and sustainability in general is something we're very interested in. So we hope that we'll be doing a lot more over the next couple of years.
Thank you so much. To kind of fill up the room, I'll ask Alice to join us up here from Innovate UK. Yes, you're most welcome. Alice leads Innovate UK Energy Catalyst program, and it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say as well as we move through. Awesome, thank you. So next I will go to Hilary Arima, who's the Health, Safety and Environment Division representative from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. And I'll basically ask him to talk around, what the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is doing around, the financing of mini-grids, but looking specifically at climate finance and what might be happening along those lines. So I'll let you have a dive in, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the ministry does basically the coordinating role of coordinating our Ministry of Finance with our development partners in securing funds for mini grids, and we do this through facilitating technical assessments, demonstrating the feasibility and environmental impact of the mini grids to package them as viable, bankable projects. So we also advise on concessional funding and involving
that it was launched yesterday. So the subsidy program started yesterday and companies are now selling. The credit support program started long time ago. Financial institutions such as Centenary Bank already have the money and they have already done a lot of work in that area, giving out money to end users and the companies as working capital. So, and other many financial institutions, we have a total of about 32 financial institutions. Now, going back to your question, I need to be fast now. Our funding for PUE basically is both on and off the grid. So, where even we include mini grids, especially as far as the technologies such as refrigeration, we support on and off the grid. So now this financing, which is available with financial institutions, can support those endeavors where mini grids are. It can be tapped in, so end users can buy appliances, basically it's appliance financing. So end users can obtain fridges, can obtain grain mills, which are powered by the mini grids, but also on the off-grid side. So we are also working around with NOAA Uganda as a mini grid developer, trying to see how we can work together so that NOAA's mini grids in Lamo can access this financing through financial institutions so that the end users can benefit because they have the grids there and end users need those PU appliances. We have also other PU appliances like solar water pumping, solar water heating, but basically those ones are out of the grid context. But for the grid, we are passionate that the refrigeration, grain milling, and other technologies that we shall add on along will benefit, and will benefit from this financing, and the financing is available. Why, the question as to why, which direction we are taking, like I said, statistics are about increasing now access to electricity. So this funding, because we have an envelope of 110, we may not support capital investments for mini grids, but appliance financing, like I have said. So, and we are focusing so much on off-grid because we need people, even in refugee host communities and underserved areas, to get at least something out of this, at least the lighting component, charging component, so that we can increase the statistics for our electric access. So basically, that is where we are, but we are working around to ensure, because the context of mini-grids is taken to be off-grid. But in my belief, that if you have a mini-grid, that is a grid already in a certain area. So now we are taking it as a grid and we are supporting in that caliber. But also supplementary support for these other components. But also clean cooking, you know, e-cooking now, something that we are picking on following the suspensions on charcoal production. So we need to embrace e-cooking, and mini-grid areas can also embrace this. And e-cooking is also supported under the program. And with the program that started yesterday, the RBF, basically, there are subsidies. So the appliances I talked about are subsidized up to 60%. The refrigerators, on-grid and off-grid, are subsidized up to 60%. And the grain milling appliances, are subsidized up to 60%. The EPCs are subsidized up to 50%. So, away from the credit support that we have with financial institutions, end users in mini-grid areas, off-grid areas, and across the country, including refugee host communities, can access these appliances and technologies at subsidies. If they need top-up, still the money is available with financial institutions, so they can access that money, ensure that they acquire these appliances. So the subsidy is there for the next 3 years, but also financial institutions are there to give bigger systems financing, but also supplement financing for the subsidies that are already in place.
Thank you.
I beg to stop here.
So refugees can also access it?
Yes.
Refugees can also access that financing.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we have even a dedicated financing or funding for refugee host communities, and we are focusing on that. A lot of focus, because we know that is where there is a big challenge, that they have not received. The populations are dense there. A lot of energy interventions must be there. So there's a special focus for refugee. And maybe something I can add on that is for refugee host communities, even the companies that are going to sell there have a special subsidy or a supplier subsidy for them to go there, because it's a hard-to-reach area. So the subsidies there are, for the supply side, are also high to encourage companies to set up there and be able to sell. But also the end-user subsidies remain in place to also make sure that the prices are capped for the end users.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now go on to our dear colleagues at Neot. So as a developer who is receiving financing from investors, it'd be great to get a story of how your journey has been as Neot. And what lessons would you like to share with us, and what lessons would you like to share with financiers in the room, investors in the room, to kind of help learn and also grow? Thank you.
Okay. My name's Ambosa Ronald, financial analyst at Neot. Let me briefly talk about Neot. Neot is a mini-grid developer all over Africa. Our head offices are in France. We are in 6 countries so far in Africa. That is Uganda, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Benin, and Ivory Coast. We have so far 31 mini-grid sites in Uganda, and our target is 50 by the end of 2025. Our journey, going back to the question you've asked, our journey has been a lot of challenges and lessons, but the most important one is developing a good relationship with the community and trust. As you know, we are in Lamo, the northern part of Uganda. We have 25 sites. you find challenges with the community, like low-income earners. You may find a challenge. Let me give an example. You install, a customer can install a bulb, then when it blows away, they would want you to still come and install the bulb. So by you building a strong relationship with the community, sensitizing them, telling them like how you're going to use the power, so it helps building the relationship. When it comes to investors, because we have got quite a number of investments from GIZ, Columbia University, even the government has funded us so far. We have learned that investors want an increased visible project towards financial reporting. You have to be transparent. The proposals that you outline, they have to be on top notch. So for them to really invest in you, you have to be on your top game. Basically, when you have a long relationship with them, it can lead even to further investment. So far, those are my points.
Thank you very much. And I'd love to go on to our guest panelists who have helped us fill up the stage. And yeah, so tell us more about yourself. Tell us more about what your institution is and what your hopes or plans may be for this sector.
Sure. So hello everyone. So I'm Kevin from IFD. First of all, I want to thank you, Peter, for this invitation. When I woke up this morning, I was like, I have a very chill day. I won't speak too much English, but at the end, I'm here to present you IFD. So the IFD is the French Agency for Development, is a development bank from France. We are in all the geographies in the world, but mainly in Africa. So most in the Western Africa, but also in Eastern Africa, with an important, if I can say, hub in Nairobi, but also an agency here in Kampala, where I base, and the French embassy. IFD fund many projects in various sectors, water, but also and mostly in energy. And we found projects in all the value chain, if I can say, in the energy sector in Uganda. So in generation, we are funding the rehabilitation of the Cara Dam, so co-funded with the EU, but also with the EIB, the European Investment Bank. We are also funding projects in transmission, so with the funding of the construction of some transmission lines between some cities, but also with interconnection lines. And we also, and mostly, funding projects in distribution. So we have a big project of electrification. Well, I won't say big because the World Bank have a bigger project, but we have a electrification project, so with a grid extension in the country and connection project. So it's finishing at the end of the year, so we have connected, not us, so we are only a financer, but the project has to goal to connect 200,000 people, so the goal was achieved. And now we are starting to fund a new electrification project. So we launched that project, also co-founded with the EU, with grid extension and connection, but also with a component of Minigrid. So it will be a very important component for us. This Minigrid component for this new project is at the feasibility stage. So the project was launched some months ago, but with that Minigrid component and also with an important clean cooking component. About my hopes and the plans of the IFD. IFD is here in Uganda, I think, for more than 20 years, so we want to continue to help the ministries and all the utilities to develop projects to permit Uganda to have a very strong and sustainable energy sector. And we are helping with that with the financing, for example, of the energy transition plan we have found for the ministry, I think, and it was made by the IEA, the International Energy Agency. And we want to continue to be a good partner, a strong partner for the future, and to help about the mini-grid, the subject of today, with the new project to help to develop more mini-grids So that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. And so, Alice, same questions as well. Tell us more about yourself, your institution, what it does, and yeah, what your hopes and dreams are for the sector.
So hi everyone, I'm Alice Goodbrook. I work for Innovate UK, which is part of the UK government, and our main purpose, as our name suggests, is we fund innovation. Most of it's in the UK, but I get the privilege of looking at some of the kind of energy access funding, which is open to anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as they're looking at clean, reliable, and most importantly, kind of creating new or improved energy access in Africa, Asia, and the Indo-Pacific region. We do projects that range from feasibility studies of about £10,000 all the way up to pre-commercial demonstrators of about 5 million. And kind of where the upper range is where the mini-grid sector often fits in. Obviously, mini-grids and donor funding have had a interesting history. There's been lots and lots of cases around giving kit away, installing, and then the money running out and then leaving. And that ultimately means that people get energy access for a year, maybe 2, but not long term. So we look at doing innovation and innovation projects slightly differently. We are trying to create sustainable businesses because we believe by creating sustainable businesses with sustainable business models behind them, you don't need grant funding forever. Actually, pretty soon the private sector will come in because we've de-risked that technology and that approach, and therefore grant funding can go away and your business can continue to succeed, not just now, but in the future. And this is particularly important when we're talking about net zero. You know, as much as oil and gas is going to make money at the moment, if we're trying to hit the net zero targets, it's not going to. That's not a business that's going to work in the future. However, mini grids that are relying on renewables energy will be, because they're clean and we can make them affordable. So a lot of what our funding does is looks at different ways of payments, of trying to install mini grids that provide 24-hour electricity, which is what Peter's project is doing at the moment. Peter's also doing things around looking at alternative finance around carbon credits and things like that to try and bring down the cost so the unit of electricity that you can sell to the community is much more within the price range and therefore is much more useful going forward. We also look at kind of the productive use angle. So obviously you can provide power, you can provide services, and therefore you can increase incomes, which means that actually the kind of economic case for doing these projects and providing these mini grids increases. So for us, providing that kind of, I guess, use case and demonstrator allows us to go to governments, to go to investors, to go to the banks and say, look, we've done it. Here are the physical returns that you can get over X period. So why is it why are people still saying that mini grids aren't an economic kind of, I guess, prosperous way of doing business? And that's kind of one of the fundamentals that we kind of look at. We do this in all sorts of technology areas, but mini grids is kind of one of the big ones that we get involved with because we really do think that decentralized kind of energy systems going forward is a much better way than just trying to expand the grid to everyone. The funding that we give out is grants. Depending on how big a funding pot we give you, depends on how much money you get. So, for example, an early stage feasibility study, if you're a small business, we're going to give you 70% funding. We want you to have a bit of private money or other grant because we believe that businesses should have skin in the game to make sure they're actually committed to doing this. But by the time we get to a late stage pre-commercial demonstrator project, the funding for a small company drops to 45%. And the reason for that is that you're meant to be closer to market. You're meant to have done your pilots. You're meant to be able to go to the finances and say, actually, we've done this amount of de-risking, and therefore Innovate UK and the money that we provide will de-risk this project further, but you still need some investment. And we find that by getting investors on board early as part of your journey and seeing your company grow and build really helps to create that economic case for you. But we don't just provide grant funding, we also provide technical assistance. So, great, we can do some innovative technology. You try and sell it in the market. If your business isn't ready to sell, it's not going to work. We're not going to create a sustainable business. So a lot of it's about building up your business capacity, getting staff, making you realise what, as a business, you're really good at, and actually what you might need to go collaborate in. Mini grids are massive. They're going to involve grid technology, storage, generation assets, Internet of Things, monitoring. Then you've got all this capacity building in communities. Very few people can do that alone in a single business. So how can you all work together to get that done? And then we fund those collaborations because we find money is very sticky, makes people want to work together. And that's kind of the focus of how Innovate UK are trying to kind of increase the mini grid access within Africa.
Thank you so much. And we've got about 22 minutes. So I think what we'll do now is we'll go to the team in the room and get a few questions for our panelists, then come back to our panelists so each one gets a round to respond to them. So do we have any questions? Awesome. If you can introduce yourselves and let us know, kind of who you are, where you're coming from, and you can give us a question or you can give us a comment. Yep.
Thank you. I'm Duchani Kanswambi from Centenary Bank, Manager Housing and Renewable Energy. I think I asked this question in the previous session, and I think it was not properly addressed, but having someone who is helping us to mobilize green financing, is it from Neot, gives us an opportunity, because we know very well that there's available climate change financing. I know some sessions I've attended, around $100 million has been put aside for climate financing. And Africa has not been represented there directly. And because we are not aligned, we are not compliant, we need the green finance taxonomy and so many other things. And you see, investments like Minigrids is not a small thing, like someone pointed out. It's a lot of money required, and also technology like prepaid meters. They may need such things like that to see that they collect from their clients. And I'm just asking, how can this be done to see that such investments come? Because why? They are cheap and they are long-term. And if you look at our markets available, financial markets available, such financing is available in some few financial institutions, maybe locally, no, maybe international financial institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, or good afternoon, I think, in the meantime. My name is Jerome van der Linden. I'm with Beyond the Grid Fund for Africa. My question is targeted to actually both the developer in the room, Neot, as well as the ones who are providing finance. So that's the majority of the panel, I guess. So the Beyond the Grid Fund for Africa actually provides RBF financing in combination with TA, amongst others, to Minigrid developers. So RBF is a post-financing mechanism, but we also provide advance payments as pre-financing and to cover actually the construction cost for Minigrid developer up to the commissioning phase. We like to label this RBF as a free equity because in principle on paper it strengthens the balance sheet of the company, of the Minigrid developer. So we like to think that this free equity is actually strengthening the position of the Minigrid developer in negotiating either additional concessional finance or debt finance from potential financier. And I'm here to solicit feedback actually from you guys to see if that is the case. So from the developer point of view, do you see that this RBF free equity is helping you to better negotiate or to unlock financing for your investment? And the same question actually to financiers. Do you see RBF as a mechanism to ease your conditions or to lower the threshold in making available financing to the Minigrid sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Owin Hakim from EB. We make electric bicycles. My submission is basically concerning from a previous session we had. We had a government representative talking about the development of the main grid, Then this gentleman from Neon, they have a target of developing up to 50 mini grids. I don't know how is that aligned with the expansion, what guarantee you have. Then also Alice cited something that the Minigrid grid are very good for the way to go for small economy, for small community, and kind of she convinced me that Minigrid grid is the thing. Comparing that the employment opportunity to bring to communities, the transformation, the skill development, where the communities are best. How do we harmonize this? Because they all look like interesting things, interesting approach to transformation and development, but you have a politically, economically motivated, which you don't have control over. As a development, you're targeting 50 main grids, I don't know if in Uganda or Africa. Also, I get convinced there. Then also with the government developing a main grid, you don't know when it's going to come. The next politician who is going to contest in 2016 is promising their people a main grid coming of power. How do we navigate all these dynamics in the process to pursue transformation and also extending power to the people? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another question around?
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you so much, panelists, for the insightful information. My name is Namono Maureen from Makerere University Business School, master's student of energy economics and governance. I did a study about mini-grids, and I found out that most researchers are saying that mini-grids are not reliable. And even my study concluded that mini-grids were not reliable. But they have that potential to transform or to bring access to electricity. So as developers, what is the solution to this electricity not being reliable? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Masendi Patrick from Equator Energy. I'm very curious about the issue of mini-grid supporting e-mobility. At the moment, I actually recently looked at the map of e-mobility charging and swap stations across the country. In the entire Uganda, it's all around Kampala, except in Fort Portal, upcountry. Is there any special incentives for people who are interested specifically in setting up mini-grids to support e-mobility? For example, I also see like the Cara motor buses, they go to work in Entebbe, but they're brought back to charge in Kampala, yet they could also set up something that side to charge them. Thank you.
Also to contribute to that, my name is Geoffrey Mutavazi. I run an electric mobility company. We transform any ordinary bicycle into electric. The company is called Cara. I was in Yumbe at the start of this week, and we're deploying some bicycles over there. And we essentially found a mini grid that already had a lot of excess power, and they were looking to utilize all this power. And one of the use cases that developed during the week was, can we use the mini grid for electrification, for basically, one, distributing power to everyone by this battery being used in the household as a tool for energy access. Instead of connecting everyone, why not give everyone a battery that can power their bike, but also power some appliances in their home? But then the second thing that came up is the affordability of this battery or of this product. It's quite expensive for people in the places where most of the mini grids are to actually purchase the bicycles and the batteries upfront. So there is a need for financing mechanisms that unlock this access to these very productive assets. But then in many cases, the large financial institutions like Centenary Bank and any of the banks that you'd think would go into all these settlements and all these rural areas are not really present. So you're working with very small circles, you're working with small financing institutions, and in many cases, the potential for growth for such an opportunity in such a use case is very limited because of the lack of financing. So how do we, I would say, cross this hurdle and just get people to access electricity in a smarter way using batteries, but then also finance them in a smarter way through, some more creative financing mechanisms, and I would say larger institutions with more capacity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one last question, then we come over.
Hello, thank you. My name is Peter. I'm from UCU. The question of mini grids, viability, and alternatives. Are there opportunities to look into alternatives like solar integrated with wind for maybe powering these mini grids? Because personally, for my final year project, I'm trying to look at integrating a solar and wind hybrid to do powering for maybe a local community.
Thank you very much. So we've got a good number of questions here. Questions around climate financing. We've got, that's from Centenary Bank, we've got our good friends from BGFA who want to get feedback on RBF. We've got EB, sharing with us how there may be competing, priorities and how to navigate that. Maureen from OOBS, looking at how can we move towards altering the narrative that mini grids are not quite where they need to be as yet. From Equator Energy, we had a submission as well, looking at electric vehicles as a productive load. We had a submission from Mutabazi from Cara, looking at how they have helped, support that with their PUEs working, but asking if there could be more alternative, innovative financing in place. Centenary Bank talked about what could be done in the climate finance space, and finally around hybrid. So I'll just pass it around as the mic goes around, and each of us can basically, give us the last words from the panel, but see if they could pick any of those questions to help guide their responses. And we'll actually begin with AFD. Yeah, starts with A.
Okay, so I will take maybe the question from Beyond the Grid for Africa. So I'm very afraid to tell you I'm not the main expert to answer your question, because like I said at the beginning, the project where we will implement mini grids is at the beginning. We launched, so the RBF mechanism for the mini grids, point is on discussion, is still not like I will say approved. So I don't have experience or answer to bring you. I'm very sorry. About the RBF mechanism in globally, we have for some projects, like for the connection, for the electrification project with connection, we work with RBF, we pay for the connection done and for some goals achieved. I think it's a good mechanism. For mini grid, I'm afraid to give you the best answer. And I'm very interested also to have the answer from my colleague from NYT about this and his experience. But very sorry.
Thank you. Let me start with the gentleman from Centenary Bank. Yes, there's climate financing. We have been trying to develop guidelines. One, we're working with the Climate Change Department of the Ministry of Water and Environment. They are trying to operationalize the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on CDM. And I think they are officially now accredited entity for accessing climate finance. That's one, the Green Climate Fund, and the two, you can also have assistance from the Global Environment Facility. But of course, the challenge is we lack technical capacity. And so Ministry, together with Ministry of Water and Environment, we are developing guidelines to facilitate carbon credit market registration for developers, and also ensuring that they are accredited to access these funds. Of course, we're also working to come up with the standards, because the challenge has been how to access the funds, because I know there are some technicalities there. So I think developing standards will improve that. Then someone asked about how to harmonize main grid and mini grids. The ministry itself is actually developing mini grids. There's I think a project called Get Access Solar Mini Grid for rural areas. We are going to power around 110,000 people, businesses. So it's what the ministry is doing. It's the way. We are not going to say that we are doing away with mini-grids. Mini-grids are going to be developed. It's just that, like my colleague earlier said, once you follow the national electricity strategy, we have areas where we want to invest in mini-grids and where the grid is. So it's all about following what was in the strategy. And if a developer wants to come, it needs to check through and see that they're in line with that strategy. Solutions to reliable mini-grids, of course, like everyone knows, solar is intermittent. It's only during the day. So the only solution is battery, of course. You can invest in storage, storing power to power the systems at night when there's no solar. Integrating solar with wind, yes, we can, but we carry these feasibility studies for wind energy. Wind energy is not all over, is not everywhere in Uganda. So there are areas, even when you integrate, you will not get the energy required to run the systems. So you need to know where you are putting the systems, integrated systems. I think we piloted in Karamoja wind energy, and there's I think some feasible outcomes there, maybe around Lake Victoria, but by and large, you might put a system in an area where there's no wind. I think that's what I can handle for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEMD. And now we pass STI.
So I like what my colleague just shared around the climate finance unit, and I'm going to speak into the green financing question that was asked, and what we're doing as the innovation ministry. So our mandate is to drive and commercialize innovations in Uganda. And financing is one of course, the biggest challenges because it's not a limitless bag that we have. But the question is, how do we unlock additional funding? I think Peter has been able to successfully raise green finance for his energy projects that he's running, and we think that many other Ugandans on some of the global registries, and these are actually trading credits. When you ask yourself the question, who owns these projects, how many Ugandans actually own these projects, it's very few and far in between. Peter might be one of the only ones actually, as a Ugandan, being able to raise money. So while the Ministry of Environment and Finance are working on GCF financing and the other global institutions, at STI we're thinking, how do we help Ugandan innovators access carbon credit markets to be able to raise financing for what they do? And we're looking at a more micro level in terms of different project developers or people with great ideas. I don't know if you know this, but Uganda had about 33 million credits, has about 33 million credits issued currently, and potential for probably another 30 million more. And like I said, how do we turn this into Ugandan companies being able to actually access this? So what we're doing as a ministry is a couple of things. One, we're working on a carbon origination platform. So basically helping project developers or innovators get their projects registered, figure out how to facilitate verification, and most importantly, enable forward sales of credits, and that should be able to unlock financing into what it is that they're doing. This should be launched in the first quarter of next year, and the idea is that we can start to actually identify a number of innovators. Of course, my colleague over here, they're doing a lot of work around, of course, the NDCs, and that's really where, on a government level, there's a lot of focus. But for us, it's how can we disrupt, not really disrupt, how can we enable access to finance for green projects without breaking government's back, which unfortunately you probably would have to be able to achieve what you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. And we pass it on now to Caroline Nyland.
Thank you. Thank you. I will try to answer 3 questions. The first one is from Mr. Dare. It's about mobilizing green investment and how can we get them here, more in Africa. I'm talking about general in sub-Saharan Africa. Well, first of all, that's why Get Invest is there, because we know that most of the developers, they do not have any idea where are the financing, what type of financing are there. I prepared my notes because we don't have all the time, but you can reach me after this session to tell you more about investors. But that's the reason why Get Invest is there. We really, really have the developers we approach the funds and bring them together with the developers. That's one. Like I said, we have been very successful in it, but we as Get Invest, we also try to discuss with DFIs, for example, to get them, for example, just an example, in Nigeria we had a project, there was a project of Minigrids, I think it was 14 Minigrids, that needed local QNC financing. That's not always easy because you get your revenues in, the company gets its revenues in Naira, local QNC, but you also need to reimburse and for that you need a local QNC financing. So what DFIs did is they invest in, for example, infra credit, which is a guarantee fund, and there was another infrastructure debt fund, which is the NIDF. These were Nigerian financiers established with the support and involvement of DFIs that could offer and structure and raise debt in Naira and also understood the local situations in the country. So this allowed the company our client in Nigeria, to close, it was a debt facility from both financiers of 6 million. And the close with InfraCredit, which is a guarantee fund, was achieved through a blended instrument with the UK funded climate finance blended facility, enabling local QNC financing. And because of this, and thanks to this, many of our clients could benefit from it in Nigeria. So we have indeed in our portfolio many clients from Nigeria that have been able to develop and scale their mini-grid projects under the special purpose vehicles. So just to say that DFIs plays a big role in this, and also in enabling local QNC financing for many mini-grid providers. And I always say what we see also from our clients is that most of our clients have a blended finance approach. So, and I can say that also from my experience, for example, in Zambia, 60%, I always try to have a grant or an RBF is very important. 60% grant that will allow me to get debt facility and equity. That's always my first step. So grants, RBF, and concessional loans. For example, in Mali, I'm now setting up a company in Mali. It's concessional loan. That's the first facility that I'm looking for. Then what we see in general, it's a mix of grant, concessional debt, and senior debt and some equity. You need at least 30% of equity. You know, the equity debt ratio is 30% equity. Most of the funds, they ask for this 30% equity at least to be able to provide a debt facility. And indeed, at this moment, that's not easy at all to find this equity, but we are working on it. We are working with different funds. Also, we try to see how we can mobilize more of this equity. So this is in general what is done. Another type of investor we are also very much into is impact investors, like Acumen, Doen Foundation, Schneider Electric Energy Fund, Electrify, which is a European facility. They provide often patient capital and are flexible, and it can be sometimes equity, sometimes debt. So also look at the impact focused funds that are there. Another one that we often forget, but CEI, let me see what I always forget what is CEI with all these acronyms. Clean Energy and Energy Inclusion Initiative, CEI, provides also blended capital through result-based financing debt with technical assistance to de-risk the SMEs. They provide flexible financing and they work together through Persistent, which is leading the crowdlending window. They also provide some financing facilities through different kind of crowdlenders like Energize Africa, Twine and Lenderhand. So please also do not, for the developers here, also try to see if the crowdlenders can also be an opportunity for you. That's also what I would like to say. I have much to say about it, but let's go to the next question, which was, just looking at my fellow colleagues here in this room from Beyond the Grid Fund. Yes, I can only confirm that many of our clients without the ERBF and also from your side that they got, they wouldn't be so far. So result-based financing in terms of, in the form of grant and with an advance payment, that's really helping them to have, it's considered as free equity. And I can also say that in the past I also received it. And it strengthens your balance sheet and in an easy way. So it's really, really valuable what you are doing as Beyond the Grid Fund. So I can only applaud what you are doing and you are really important in this sector. The lady in the back, the mini-grid are not reliable. Yes. They are reliable, but also they have some issues. I think when people say, you know, I'm a very big fan of mini-grids. I'm still doing them on the ground, but also still struggling with them, especially now in Zambia. But why they are not reliable, I think the main issue is because they have unpredictable revenues and unstable revenues, and that makes it a risk for many funds. So I think I would also like to advise you to look at Prospect. Prospect is a kind of open source that is analyzing data, and that is an open free source. You can look on their site. They are gathering many data from many mini-grid players and other on-grid and off-grid players. And funders are more and more looking to this kind of open source data to also aggregate the data and to predict the revenues for certain specific clients. So please also look at this, but this will also, I think, help. Another facility that I'm now, that I really fight for in Zambia, that's C4All, has set up a demand stimulative incentive facility. It's not started yet, but it's really a nice facility also for us as mini-grid operators, because we are really struggling. In Zambia, the drought has really caused that many of our clients cannot even afford the low tariffs that we have set up. And it is even lower than the ones that I have in Mali. In Mali, we have the company that we still have there is EBITDA positive, is profitable with the 5T mini-grids in combination with solar home system. But in Zambia, we really have a lot of issues with the clients not being able to even consume 5 kilowatt hour with the tariffs that we apply. So but the first thing I always do with mini-grids is to really directly look at which type of productive use activities can I add on it and which type of business. This is the first thing I always do. What I also did in other countries like in Guinea-Bissau, so that I can reach profitability in 4 or 5 years, sometimes even 3 or 4 years. So it's really important to look at I always say to Minigrid and to our clients of Get Invest, please get, and that's the first analysis we always do with the clients is how is your target segments achieved in your Minigrid operations. That's something very, very important. The immobility. Some people in the audience also ask about how to support immobility. That's something we are also working on. I realize I have some from Get Invest. We have some immobility clients, and funds are really interested, but I still do not understand how to cope with this battery asset. They have a lot of questions about the battery assets. So that's something I think we still have to work on, awareness on the battery asset, just to convince funds to really move also into the immobility space and swapping stations. I think for now I should stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive responses. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I'll talk about supporting e-mobility and also the issue of excess power with mini-grids, because yes, that is not utilized. The way to go is having PUEs as anchor loads on that power. Even e-mobility is a PUE, especially nowadays we have a lot of bikes that are running on electricity. So that is a PUE. What will streamline very well this issue of excess power, having more PUEs, is the PUE strategy. I understand the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is currently developing a PUE strategy for Uganda, working with the USAID Power Africa. I think that one will be out. It will streamline very well how PUEs can be deployed to utilize this power. Secondly, now I would go back to our side of financing from UCCC. Currently, we have, of course, from the Electric Success Scale-Up project, we have $110 million that we are using for the next 3 or so years. It's not a lot of funding to address everything. That's why I say it can't address the capital investment for mini-grids, but it will support appliances. So, recently we have worked with the Columbia World Resources. Then we want to really ensure that they have actually mapped for us PUEs that can be supported. Most of them are in mini-grid areas, others are in grid-connected areas, that we can support with this financing to ensure that this financing also supports them, like I said from the beginning. But also this financing, something I'd forgotten is we support 3-phase connections and internal wiring of premises. This financing does, with the financing that is with the financial institutions, this financing does the same. Like Abdul talked about from the previous session, so that financing is available with financial institutions that is at low interest rates to support internal wiring, 3-phase connections, and these other PUEs. Then also, financial institutions, the gentleman talked about that in Yumbe, he didn't see financial institutions. We are trying, on top of having financial institutions like Centenary Bank and others, we have about 32, we are also deploying microfinance institutions and SACCOs to ensure that they also access money from UCCC and they are able to serve the underserved areas in rural areas. So now, most of the SACCOs, as we move on, this project started last year, and now some of the components are just speaking on, like the RBF yesterday, and we also have some technical assistance. So we want to ensure that even the SACCOs, the microfinance institutions, in the rural areas and underserved areas, access this financing at low interest rates, be able to lend it out to end users to acquire the equipment, the PU equipment and appliances, and also utilize that power that is available that side. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Neot.
Thanks a lot. My colleagues have really said everything, but I can supplement on a few things. Someone asked about the 50 mini grids that the target by 2025 will hit that 50, I'm sure. So far we have 31, that is 25 in Lamo, 3 in Palabek, we have 3 in Bonjako, and with BGF, we are going to get more 10, and we are in the final stages of what you said. It's really helping the equity financing. So we are good to go. By 2025, we'll hit the 50. That's the target by the end. Someone said about mini-grids not being reliable. She talked about it. Though, from our analysis, we have discovered that we can input in like genset generators in case they go off, that mini-grids people can access the power, because that's one of the challenges we face, especially in Bunjako. So we've tried to input all those mechanisms that can help in the grid to be on, people can have the power. As he said, for the PUs, asset financing, actually in Lamo, we have also tried internally giving out assets to people on hire purchase, something like that, so that we can boost the power. But the most sensitive thing is educating these people, because these mini grids are really in rural areas, people are non-sensitized, and you need to put much emphasis there. And also the other thing is about the government. You know, I'm going to take an example of Neot. We were given 10 years. So far we have utilized 3, but when you look at the EPDDA, it's not there. So we would want to involve more the government so that they look at the sustainability. How are we going to sustain, get the investment of return? If only they can work upon that and extend the permit. So basically, I think that is it.
Thank you very much, everyone. Everyone in the room, thank you so much. Everyone on the panel, much gratitude. And we've gone into lunch by about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but I hope it was worth it. So much gratitude.
No, thanks a lot, Peter. Thanks, our panelists. Yeah, please feel free to take your seats. I think we'll actually wrap it up here. This was our last session for the day. I think, and I would like to thank you so much. You know, we're not sure whether people will come for our session today. It's a Saturday. Hopefully next time we'll do during the week. But it was good to see that people came. We'll write a small report about the topics we talked about today, and we hope that some of the things we've discussed will form some of the activities we shall do next year. So thanks a lot. And in case you want to reach out to us, feel free to connect and network. Otherwise, we are done for the day. Thanks very much. Bye. Thanks a lot. Thank you. You did well. And you managed the time excellently well. Thank you. Okay. What's the game plan? I'm done. Properly. I think I'm going back home. I'm going to deliver back that to my wife. She needs it for afternoon shopping and all that. Are you still around?
assistance.